Our lives are a string of insights, flashes of inspiration that can be the catalyst for new ideas. However, our pace of life these days means we tend to miss some of them completely. I'm Dave Hill, and I'm the host of the Simple Reflections podcast, a fortnightly series of interviews with people from all walks of life. Our conversations are an invitation to reflect on some of the simple insights my guests have had that have gone on to have a profound impact on their lives. So grab a cuppa and a biscuit, join us, slow down for a little while and see what shows up for you. Welcome to the next episode of the Simple Reflections podcast. Today I'm joined by a really good friend, Lynne Brannigan. Lynne and I met last year doing Jamie Smart's CCT training, and from my point of view, I was lucky enough that Lynne and I were paired up for peer coaching to start off with. I'm not going to speak for her on that front. She might not think she was as lucky, but we hit it off really well, and we've kept chatting away over the last 12 months, and they've been a lot of fun. And I thought I'd like to share that with you today. Lynne's been coaching for over 20 years now. She's lived all over the world. And she's currently in Spain, living between Valencia and Alicante. Lynne, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything that I've missed there? Anything you'd like to add in way of introduction?
Good morning, Dave. Well, I felt very fortunate that we were paired up together on our peer coaching sessions. I felt like we did have a lot of fun, and we had some interesting times, and I was super grateful. Anything you missed off? No, I think that's good enough as an intro.
Happy days. Happy days. You know, you're a busy lady. You're doing all kinds of interesting things in your community and more broadly. It's a Monday that we're recording this, and you have a group that meets every Monday morning and just shares and sees what comes up from that. And it's interesting that, just over a year ago, you personally weren't feeling particularly comfortable about being on camera, being on Zoom, doing things like that. And I just wondered if you'd be comfortable sharing, now that I've thrown you under the bus, being comfortable sharing your journey with that in terms of, I don't do that, to now it's just a staple part of who you are.
You did throw me under the bus. I love that you did that, actually. Yeah, I remember, I'll speak about the Monday morning calling group things in a minute, but I remember distinctly being on one of our weekends, and you and I were in a breakout room, and I shared my reluctance. Then I could go on to say angst, fear around doing group sessions online, and had a whole load of thinking about it. And you guys were asking me, is it the technology? Is it this? Is it something? And I can't remember the conclusion, but I said something about technology, and you said, well, do you have a flip chart? And I was like, damn, I can't even use that as an excuse. So how did I get from there to now having the Monday group and various other group activities? Funnily enough, this morning so the Monday group is called TGIM. Thank God it's Monday, because whoever says that, and that's how it came about. I was having conversations with people who'd be like, my Sunday's ruined because of Monday. I can't wait till it gets to Friday. And I'm like, wow, imagine if people got up on a Monday looking forward to the week. Maybe I can do something about that. And I unlike me, I didn't put a whole load of thinking on it. I just thought maybe I can do something about that. And I reached out to a few people and said, I've got this idea to start a group thing on a Monday. I'm going to throw it out on Facebook. Do you want to come? And I have no idea how many calls we've been doing. I think we've been maybe going since June. I don't remember. But how did I get there from where I was, with all that fear and judgment on myself, which is what it was a desire for connection, really, which underpins so very much well, pretty much everything actually that I do, in fact, and definitely underpins any and all of the group stuff that I do. So my desire for connection was greater than my fear of I might mess it up, no one will turn up, it might be a bit rubbish. And I actually thought, well, if it's a bit rubbish, it won't continue. But that is not the case. That's not how it's panned out. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much the short journey of fear of groups to doing the online group.
Yeah, that's cool. There's, I think there's something in there for all of us. What stops us doing anything? It's the fear of appearing rubbish in front of others, and whatever that looks like. And actually, the reality of starting doing something is we tend to learn on the fly. And while we might notice something didn't land quite as well as we'd hoped initially, we quickly catch it, tweak it, polish it, and off we go again. And things just evolve and get smoother, feel more comfortable, and then get to the point where we don't even think about them. They just happen. It just becomes part of who we are.
Yeah, I love that, Dave. I think you nailed it there. I when I had the idea, the only planning, if there is such a thing, notion that I had was I thought, well, what would I ask people when people turn up? How would I kick it off, or what would I ask them? And the thing that came to mind was, what are we grateful for on a Monday? And that's how we start every week. And there is no planning. It's a conversation. It's an exploration. It's discovery. It's what comes up for people. So I couldn't, all the planning in the world, I could have thought about this for months and thought, well, I'll turn up and I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll do something. The fact of the matter is there are other people in the room, and it's not up to me. So, I can kind of point in a direction, but what comes is not from me. So yeah, that idea of all the thinking that goes on before anything, that versus the reality, they're normally entirely different things. So yeah.
I know your exploration of all things three principles a sort of fairly new thing. With that in mind, and your sort of depth of experience as a coach, I wondered, what's been the biggest surprise for you in looking in this direction and bringing that into your coaching on a sort of go-to day-to-day basis?
There's less to do. Yeah, that's one of the surprises. There's less to do. Funnily enough, as Jamie would say, can I tell you a story?
Please do.
Funnily enough, as I was awake at 3:00 this morning, this time change thing always kind of knocks me out. I was thinking back to before I was actually in my coach training in the UK, and I had signed up to be a volunteer youth mentor for what they described as troubled young people. So I went off and did a weekend or 2 weekends, I can't remember, of mentor training. And the first person that I was with was a young mum of 3 kids who at the time did not have the children in her care. She had some issues with alcohol. She'd been through abuse as a young child, of every degree. She hadn't had a very nice life up until that point. And as I was thinking about our conversation today and thinking about what I've seen in the past few years to be true, without consciously knowing any of this, at the time, I turned up and I saw a lovely young woman in front of me with all the potential in the world. We used to sit in a cafe and play cards and chat about not very much. And a few weeks, I was only allowed to be with her for 3 months. A few weeks before our time was up, I had what I now see as an insight. I didn't know at the time. I was like, let's get out of this cafe. I'm going to take you somewhere. And she's like, where are we going? So off we go. It was raining. I remember we were in St. Neots in Cambridgeshire, and it was raining. And I took her to the library. Don't ask me why. I have no idea to this day. I took her to the library and we got into the library. I threw open the door and we go in. And I turned around and I looked at her. I'd said, "Here we go." And she looked at me and she had like a tear running down her face. And I'm going, oh God, this is a terrible thing. What have I done? And she said, you mean to tell me this is all free? That she'd never been in the library. She didn't know it existed. And it opened up something entirely new for her. So in terms of going back to your question, and when I said there's less to do, we talk about, and I've mentioned connection already, we talk about connecting with people on a soul-to-soul or a heart-to-heart level. That was all I had to do. It was absolutely all I had to do. Bring some love to the table, consideration for what she had been through. By the end of that time together, she had visitation with her kids without someone in the room. She was applying for jobs. She was not drinking. And that's all it took. I didn't have ninja skills or anything. It wasn't like I was doing a magic trick. It wasn't about that. It was that really seeing her as okay and being there. And I think I can put my hand up and say I forget that sometimes, like all up in my head about, oh, look at what that person's doing. They're so successful. They're so could be doing so much better. And I need to learn more and I better get that book and watch another whatever, listen to another Dave podcast or, strive because I could be better. And your sweatshirt pretty much sums it up today. I just shared with you before you started recording the end of our Monday morning call this morning. The last thing I wrote down, because someone said it out loud, was, you imagine if you knew you are enough. And I just, that's what my takeaway from that call this morning is, imagine if everyone knew that, that you are enough.
Yeah. It lies at the heart of every single one of us. And the vast majority of us, one, don't realize it, two, don't think others have it within them either, and thirdly, think that it's a really difficult thing to draw out of someone if it does exist. Whereas actually, your interactions with that young woman are testament to it. Just showing up with care, compassion, and a little bit of love, and being curious to follow what feels right. You never quite know what's going to be created, but something will spring to mind, either in ourselves or in them or together. And, a whole new world opens up, just like, a library is a fairly drab looking building normally, but it's full of so much wisdom and opportunity and excitement, and boredom potentially with some of the content that's in there. But it's just a space of possibility. And you having the thoughts to take her in there and her having the realization of, oh my goodness, here's this resource that's at my fingertips. If only I'd known, and she does now.
Mm.
And I think that's what's so exciting. An insight is exactly the same thing. It's sort of it's an uncovering of a library of information that we had within us already. And interestingly, it normally comes with a little chuckle because we sort of know that, oh right, yeah, that was there already. Oh well, let's see what we can what we can do from here. And I just love seeing that in others, tripping over it myself, doing my best to help others experience it for themselves.
Mm. Yeah, and before you hit the record button, we had a little brief chat there, and this notion of insights came up, and yeah, the little chuckle when we see things for ourselves, we're like, oh, really? That's kind of funny. And that continues to happen. That's the beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wrote something down as you were speaking, this space of possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I think and also what looking in this direction has done for me, it has settled my mind somewhat, so that creating that space of possibility feels, it's at ease. It's not, that doesn't feel like a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like, I can just be, and be curious, see what comes up, see where it goes, knowing that it's coming from that person in front of me. That's not my job. Yeah, that the creating space that's a joint affair too. There has to be some sort of feeling there. So the creating that space for possibility, and I think when people are so busy, so concerned with, we were talking about striving on our call this morning, so concerned with striving and getting things done and getting ahead and paying bills and keeping on top of things, life, that space of possibility, that feels like a reach for people. The actual space, the actual having quiet time, or having someone in front of you where that quiet time is available. It's I think you and I may, given what we do and looking in this direction and feeling like, that's more and more available to us, we might take that somewhat for granted. I don't think it's to be taken for granted, because I think from that amazing things happen.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a very human danger of thinking we've got there. And right, okay, yeah, conquered that. That's it. That's done. Don't need to worry about it anymore. I think there's sort of an interesting picture that comes to mind of we are two sides of a coin. One side is absolutely there, nailed it, knows what it's doing, and the other side is all the stuff that is still to learn. And if we're comfortable with the fact that we are enough as we are right now, I know everything that I need to know in this moment, and that's true, but also the flip of the coin is also true, that there is a huge amount of depth yet to discover, and that's not a problem. I think quite a lot of us, I certainly have in the past, felt that I need to stay within my lane and not venture out of what I know, because I might trip myself up and that won't look good. I think that, I'm not alone in that. I think that's something that we can all feel at times. And in the past, when that was a concern for me, I was really interested at the times when I would expect it to show up and it didn't. And I'd be curious about that, going, okay, well, I thought that would be harder than it was, or that I never thought I'd be stood there doing that. And all of the things I was worrying about happening and being absolutely fine. I think, it's being content knowing that the enoughness of us is both the sum of everything we've learned to date, the sort of wisdom that's baked into us, and our capacity to continue learning and being comfortable with the things that we haven't come across yet, knowing that that's just going to add to our capacity. And it has a very different feeling from the, oh my goodness, I need to get my head down and learn this stuff, because if I don't, ... It's the, okay, cool. Let's see what's unknown. Let's go exploring, which feels a lot lighter, a lot more playful, and is genuinely a good feeling to be in, personally, but also when we're with someone that's in that space of curiosity and playfulness, we can pick up on it, even if we are feeling a little bit beaten up ourselves by our perspective on where we are in the moment. And when we clock it, there's an opportunity for us to shift and sort of join that curiosity, I suppose.
Yeah, there's so much in there. And you and I have spoken many times in the past about fun and curiosity and lightness. And I think there's a couple of things. I think there's a lot to be said for holding things lightly, regardless of the situation. So we may have someone in front of us who are not holding things lightly. Things look a bit serious, or there's something going on. If we can turn up in a way and hold things lightly, whilst taking their situation seriously, because it deserves that. But they pick up on that, and I feel they can pick up on that brings hope, that we can bring some lightness to a situation. And also the notion of exploration, and how we're such, is it okay to say bad words on here? Yeah. I'll say poor. I'll say poor. We are poor.
Very bad word, Lynne.
we are poor predictors of how we're going to feel in any given situation in the future. We're so poor. And you just pointed to loads. You think, I've got this thing to do, and I'm going to turn, and I'm going to feel terrible, and I'm going to feel anxious, and I'm going to feel something, and you turn up and you're like, oh geez, either that wasn't so bad, that was great fun, that went well, it didn't go so well, whatever. We just literally don't know, but we convince ourselves that we do. And you're saying what you said. We continue to learn because we continue to convince ourselves that we know, and that's what's so funny about it. It's absurd. It's actually absurd that we continue to convince ourselves, that we would even have an idea based on what we have experienced or felt in the past. We have an idea of what it's going to be like. So it's kind of funny. And the whole in this moment piece. We have everything we need. We are enough for this moment, and that means when we get to that thing in the future, we're enough for that moment, because it's this moment. And I can easily lose sight of that. And get all up in my head about, it's going to feel, and we can talk about my reaction to your invitation to this podcast if you like, because that was a fair, it was a fair example. When did you send me the message last week? And I'm happy to share on here that I am a super fan. I listen every Monday morning that you release every couple of weeks. Look forward to it. Put you in front of Michael Neal. So when I got your invitation, first of all, I was like, oh, there's a message from Dave. Yay. And I read it, and now I am going to use a not poo word. I was like, oh shit. My physical self felt like, oh, wow. The immediate thing was cool, and then fear set in. It was like, oh my God, I can't. I had a few moments of, I can't do that. I listen every week. These people are amazing. Great. Dave has great conversations. What am I going to say? And then I had the chuckle. I just started laughing. I'm like, you're being absurd. You are actually being absurd. And that's what happens. It's in the past, I wouldn't have recovered so quickly. And even in the past, I might have thought that's really cool and I would love to do that. And I would have found some wriggle room and possibly not taking you up on that offer. So I'm very grateful for that. If we're talking about this direction we're looking in and what I have learned, I am very grateful for that. In that, I have, I guess, more trust in that exploration and faith that, I'll turn up and guess what? It'll be how it is, and let's go have fun and see what happens. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, thank you very much for saying yes. But
Thank you very much for asking me.
You're very welcome. One of the things that is, worth pointing out there for those listening is your reaction is a very normal human one, and we all do it, except we think we're doing it in isolation. We think we're the only ones that go, I couldn't possibly, oh my goodness. And the judgment that we then heap on ourselves about, that and all of that chat is really bizarrely helpful. It's trying to let us know that we're creating that discomfort for ourselves so that we can have a look and try and find another viewpoint or viewpoints to see how else we can shape it. And interestingly, your curiosity kicked in faster, and you were sort of, well, yeah, it would be really cool to do that, but I don't think I could, and boom, boom, and you just bounce between those ideas until all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, that's not a thing. Most of us tend to grab onto the uncomfortable feeling in there and believe that is an indicator of how it's going to go. And as you were saying, we are poor predictors of future performance. The fear in that moment is just going, is an invitation really to check and go, you could do this. You sure you want to? There are these things that might not work, but they're just mights. And those thoughts that come up are helpful. They're just sort of, a reminder that we are moving and that we need to move with caution at times. And this is something new, so proceed with caution. That's all it's asking us to do.
Yeah, and something else that came up there was we have a feeling that comes. So my feeling came from, oh shit, comparing, wherever it came from. It might be terrible, whatever. We have a feeling. We believe, and you'd said, we pay attention and we believe all this stuff that is running through our mind. We latch onto something and that tells us, better not go down this road. Something else I have appreciated through doing this work is noticing I have a feeling. And then we label the feeling, I'm uncomfortable, I'm anxious, I'm a bit nervous. And we take those ones and we pay real close attention to those. And we let them inform us. Oh, that's informed me not to do this X, Y, Z. And then all those other happy, lovely feelings. Oh, look, I'll trot off down this road. And what I've seen very clearly in this is it's a feeling. I can take a look at it, but I can do things regardless. And what I've found, and I'm living proof of this in this very moment, where we're sitting having this lovely chat and I'm having a nice time, and I am not anxious, stressed, worried, or anything. I'm living proof that that feeling of last week was coming from me telling myself whatever I was telling myself. It has nothing to do with how I feel sitting here right now having this conversation. And this moment is reality, not the wherever I was up in my head last week. So yeah.
As you know, it's the simplicity of it sort of beggars belief in a way. But it never ceases to be amazing. You know, it's what I love about the work that you and I both do. It encourages me to, despite the simplicity of it, look to learn more, to get deeper, because the more awareness I have in myself, the easier it is for me to calibrate myself to the situation, which will only enhance my ability to be present for, you know, the clients that I'm working with, and allow them to calibrate themselves. And that's, you know, that's a really simple part of human experience. You know, we've been living like that since we were born. You know, you just look at the interaction between a baby or a toddler and a person, even when there's no a sort of grown up, when there's no language involved in that, because the little one hasn't learned to talk yet. But you can build rapport and have fun, or scare each other, just by the feelings that we're giving off in those moments. The interesting thing is, as we get older, we condition ourselves to not have less faith in that, but to take in other sources of information in the form of judgment or perception, or what other people think about stuff, that then gets in the way of that very basic human skill that we have of connecting with each other. And we then think it's some magic woo-woo science when you know, when we do see connection happening really quickly, or we distrust it, because it can't be that simple. You know, if you want to test it out, I'm not saying, well, generally, if anybody wants to test it out, just walk along and smile and say hello to a stranger in the street, and most people will smile back, and there'll be a connection at a fairly deep level that you just would not expect to happen, and it's fleeting and it's gone, but you've basically gone, I'm a human being, I'm seeing your humanness, and I see you're seeing the same in me. It's as simple as that.
It really is that simple.
You know, if more people were open to that more of the time, then people would get on better at work. They get on better in their relationships. They get on better with their general interactions with the other humans around them, wherever they tend to rub up against them, despite the circumstances of the world that they live in that moment. We tend to get really hung up on, I couldn't possibly do that because of a list of reasons why that wouldn't apply to me in this situation. A little bit like your thoughts last week of the potential reasons for not coming on the podcast. We're really good at them, and they're all valid, helpful thoughts, because they are just trying to protect us. All we need to do is be curious about protect us from what. And it's normally some fear that we've created within ourselves to keep us safe. And that's something to be grateful for. But we don't have to follow it. It's the same thing as queuing up for a roller coaster. There'll be people in there that are really excited to go and go on the ride. Some of them will have done it before. Some of them it'll be the first time and they're excited. Some of them will be really nervous, really, really worried about it, and a mixture and everything else in between. For those that are frightened of it, they've got every opportunity to walk out of the queue and think nothing more of it, going, yeah, that's not for me. But some of them will walk away going, yeah, I'm a chicken, I'm a wuss, I can't do that. I'm not made that way. And that's again, semi-helpful. It's saving them going through that process again. But that thought might bubble back up again and feel uncomfortable.
Or it bubbles back, or it bubbles up in a different place where, if we go back to the, having fun and exploring and figuring things out, that it can get in the way of that when those feelings come up. And something else you said, after I shared about my reaction to last week, and that is part of our humanness. And one of the things I love about anything in a group, whether it's been our training, that my online group, I do things in groups with people around here, is that it is rare to be in any group where someone doesn't have a version of, it's not just me. It's so rare to come out of any group conversation where someone doesn't feel like, oh, great, it's not just me. And whilst we're not sharing, speaking about, being open about how we feel about things and how we react to things, if we keep that to ourselves, that it's me, the personal, that's where we get a bit sticky, I think. And whereas the notion that, hey, we're human and we go through this and it's perfectly normal, can, in some situations, even I'd go as far as say, be a lifesaver.
Hugely.
As you know.
Hugely.
Yeah.
I see that side of it quite a bit with some of the veteran stuff that I do. People's capacity to go from absolutely black and white choices of it's either live in misery or end my life, and that's the route I'm going, to bizarrely having a giggle about something completely unconnected, and then go, well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because a minute ago there was a black and white choice here, and now we're laughing about something that wasn't even on the radar. If that's possible, maybe the black and whiteness of the decision you think you're facing at the moment isn't as black and white, and there may be some other options, and maybe that was the perfect thing for you, bizarrely, to get to the conversation that's being had now, that allows you, to explore what other possible options there might be for you, and what looks like a sort of brick wall, in a sense, becomes a massive opportunity for seeing where life can take us. Even though we might not know what that looks like right there in that moment, seeing possibility, being curious creates hope. And that's a wonderful thing. And I'm endlessly grateful for coming across this as an idea, seeing the simplicity of it, and having the opportunity to share with others about what I'm seeing, but also have the opportunity to have conversations like we're having today with lots of people, that allows me to deepen my understanding and then share from that, that coming back to that, the flip side of the coin. I love the fact that I've got more to learn, and I'm thirsty and hungry for it. And I look for those, that's what I'm grateful for, is the opportunity to learn every day.
It's so interesting. What just popped up for me there was absolutely on that. I love that there's more to learn and there's more to explore. I mean, I've always had a thirst for learning. What I felt, as you said, that was, it feels different now. And to go back to where we were a little while ago, that you are enough piece. In the past, I was striving to learn more because I didn't think I was. I have to learn more. I have to do this other course. I have to go down that road. I have to read the thousands of books. I have to, whatever it was, because I didn't think I was. I will find that out there somewhere. More knowledge, more information, more. And just as you said that, I really felt that my striving for, and it doesn't know, that's not even the word anymore. There you go. It's much gentler than that. It really is an exploration and an openness to, wow, there's just so much more for me to see and for me to learn and for me to understand. But it doesn't feel like it comes from a place of lack now. This is really interesting as I'm saying this out loud, because I hadn't quite pieced all that together, I don't think. So thank you, Dave. Just had a nice realization there.
Very welcome. But it's, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of conversation. What do we? There are now 40 odd episodes in this series. None of them have had any direction to them at the start, other than I'd quite like to speak to the person that I'm curious to learn from, and let's see where that goes. There's been no list of questions that I want to ask. It's just following the breadcrumbs of what shows up, and the sort of to and fro of conversation. As one idea sparks over here, it sets off another one on the other side of the screen. And that's a wonderful human gift. This capacity to just explore gently ideas and see what shows up. And in the process, probably both people experiencing something that they've never seen before.
And to go back to connection, I mean, how can it be, if we were even questioning connection? You and I have never met physically.
Yeah.
Less than 2 years ago, we didn't know each other. Yet we have had some phenomenal conversations, I would say, fun, exploratory conversations without effort. Is how I've always felt about it. We turn up, we have a chat, we see where it goes. And that's the beauty of connection. That's where we really don't have to do much. And when it gets messed up is when we think we do. And when maybe I was listening to a podcast this morning, and it was two people who have been in a marriage for a very long time, and they were sharing the ups and downs through the marriage and top 3 points of what they've learned, I suppose. And as I was listening to them, I was thinking, part of the outcome of how they are still together is that they learned to be more curious. And there for sure was a period in their lives that was not going on. It was like, this is all about shit and it's hard and we've got kids and blah, blah. But they really learned to be a bit more aware of what the other person needed, and to be more curious, like, what is really going on? What, why are they upset, or whatever the examples were. And so I think that this whole, if we put in a little basket the connection and the curiosity and the exploration, underpinned with the you are enough, then it's kind of like we're good to go. Yeah, it seems like a nice mix.
Yeah, definitely. Lynne, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you for agreeing to come on. Thank you for going through the washing machine last week of emotions, working out whether you wanted to or not. But I'm so grateful that you said yes and you came on today. So thank you very much indeed. Is there anything that you'd like to share with those that are listening about, how to find you, what you've got going on?
How to find me is really simple. My name, Lynne Brannigan, at mac.com or lynnebrannigan.com. I do keep it simple. And yeah, people just reach out. I'm always up for a chat. I love to hear from people and connect with new people. So yeah, that's about the size of it, really.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much indeed. And look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thanks a lot, Dave. It's been great.
Thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed the conversation, feel free to subscribe and join me and my new guest next time. If you're interested in the work I'm doing, or you think I can be of service to you or your organisation, please email dave@simplicityofmind.co.uk. Remember, see if you can find time to slow down and reflect. Those simple ideas might be worth listening to. Take care, and I hope you can join me in a couple of weeks.